Hey, welcome to Archaeology 101. I love it. I'm glad I'm back. I'm glad you're back. And we're going to take a look at some fire pits today. I've pretty much I found the feature and I haven't gone into it. We're going to look at some stuff that's come out this far, but we're going to work through them. And you're going to get to see some of this today. So welcome aboard, everybody. We're going to move over to the sifter. We have just a little bit of artifacts, some debitage that's come out of these two fire pits. And what I did was, in working on profiles, you can do a horizontal profile and a vertical profile. And over on the site that I just uncovered, I've been working with horizontal, pretty much profiles. And then once in a while, we'll switch to a vertical and then we'll move that way. And in doing that, I discovered what I thought might be one for sure possible fire pit, and maybe a second one. Wasn't sure, so I carefully brought the layers, the half inches of soil down to where all of a sudden I'm finding charcoal, finding bone, finding debitage, and even finding some pottery. So I put the brakes on because I wanted to bring you folks in on a really active fire pit. So hopefully it won't be like a kid. When you want them to produce, they don't. So hopefully this will. So come on in. Let me show you what came out of the ground just above the fire pits. And this is typically what we see when we're getting in these fire pits. Let's start with this corner right here and this piece. If I said to everybody, hey, we got a platform here, you would expect me to say, yeah, we've got some flake scars, a core that was laying over there. And then we have some tools, a beautiful flake, a uniface flake knife with a huge engraver right here where it has retouch to strengthen the engraver right here. And then if I turn him a little bit this way, you can see that it was also used, there's a concave side there, it's a scraper, probably scraper, not so much as a knife. Okay, this was one of the first tools that we found. And this makes us always very excited when we get a notched base. It's nice because we can use these to age our site. So we have a notched base late archaic piece. We have a flake knife, cone of percussion. And if I go to my opposite end, I'm going to look him over and I can see where he has been used for various works around the campsite. Eris has been removed so they could really work on this puppy. And just a base of a preform. Preform is probably about this big. And you can see that somewhere in the process they broke it and they discarded it. I love to find these. I hope you can see this. I get goosebumps when I look at this. Even in Coshocton County, Flint Ridge flint is not that common. This is obviously a Flint Ridge piece. There's part of a notch right here that just shattered and exploded in a fire. And then we have a little flake knife right here. Okay, so these are the unmistakable artifacts getting into the fire pit. Just a hair of it. A couple pieces of charcoal. I don't know if you can see those. 2 charcoals and a seed that was, and now we're about 8 inches under the soil. We're just below the plow zone. And these are heavily iron-based rock that's shattered. And I save it, and then just inadvertently, I looked at one I could actually see polish on it. So we have something that's shattered. Down here is an example of some of the flint that was laying around on top of the fire pits, plural. But look what we have. We have Flint Ridge. We have gorgeous Flint Ridge. We have typical chert filled with patina coming out of this area, and possibly some more blade knives. Now this is about 1/3 of the debitage that was on top of the fire pit. Over here, we have 3 that could be just rocks, but a little bit dark, which is not uncommon when you have something laying with charcoal. But I hung on to it. This one has a weird shape, and I hung on to him. And this one just seemed too smooth, and all three of them have grinding and polish. All three of them. And look at these. These are not fossilized rabbit pellets. They had big rabbits back in the Pleistocene. But I'm going to support my thinking on this about bola. I think that there was a lot of culture integrated into North America by way of Central and South America. I think the Atlatl came that direction. I think bola did. And this is the only thing that we find around campsites that might indicate it. A lot of people call them small game balls. But look at the pottery, folks. Look at it. And some of that stuff is actually kind of thick. I'll show you one. Another one that has some cord marks. I think you can see them, I hope. Semi-thick. Another thick piece. And various, I don't know, I wish they had a name for debitage pottery. And I've got at least two different pots here. The thicker one is leaning toward Adina. Then I have these really thin cord mark pieces. Can you see how thin that guy is? That is really thin cord mark. Just so typical of Hopewell in this area. So probably at least two pots that ended up over there. And then these are so helpful when you find them. And I've talked to you about these before. They're obviously sherds of pottery, but both have a rim. Both have a rim. And look at the cord marking on the two. Very different. One is vertical with the pot. The other one is horizontal. So here they are. And here's the rim. I'm going to flip around. Normally we don't get a lot of work going on inside the pot. So this is really kind of a little bit off the wall. So this is a really quick appetizer to get us really pumped up to get into these two fire pits. You're going to travel with us. And if we have time, I'm going to share this frame with you. This came out of a man's trash box, field walker. And he was sharing all this stuff at an archaeology meeting. And I asked him, I said, did you happen to, what'd you do with all your debitage? Oh, it was my trash box. Can I look through that? Yeah, is there anything in there that I could have? He said, take the whole box. And I want you to look at some really cool uniface pieces that came out of that trash box. We will talk to these, each one of these here a little bit later, if we have enough time on this video. So this is the predecessor, this is the appetizer, the two fire pits, and we're going to take a break. I'm going to get organized and get my pit, my trowels, and all the stuff I need up there, and we'll come back in a minute here, okay? Hang on. Oh boy, this is the night before Christmas. A couple quickies. Getting your buckets. You can get the little 3-gallon jobbies. I get them at a local bakery. And they get icing and stuff like that they need at a bakery, and I think I paid $2 for each one of those. So if you're in need of buckets, it's a good resource. On the site, when you're working, a reminder, your trowel always is in an up position. When it lays down, it can get buried and you can forget where you put it. But at least in an up position, nobody's going to get cut, nobody's going to get hurt. On the edges of your trowel, you can get down and do a vertical or a horizontal scan, and you'll find your trowel. All right, here we are. I suspect my two fire pits are right here, one right here, one right here. And we stopped on the top area of this one, and right here was the heads up. This is a really good vertical profile, and then we actually have our feature beginning to show right here. So I'm going to clean this area. I'm going to square this. I'm going to clean it, and then I'll come back and start in with you again. Okay, so I'm going to clean her up, get her ready to excavate, and then we'll join you again. Okay, so we're going to take a short break. We'll be back. All right, well, this it's all sand, but it can be tough. And what we're finding now is that it's almost like sand that's been annealed, almost like concrete, which is indicative of sand that's been warmed or heated or beside a hearth or under a hearth. Looks like this is sand that is right beside this fire pit. So what we've done now, we've cleared it, we've squared it, we have a nice vertical wall here. We have nice vertical walls, and we have decent horizontal platforms. So let's come on up and take a peek at this puppy. This fire pit actually is a little bit wider than I anticipated. When we were chopping here, going here for a profile, for a vertical profile, suddenly the feature started to stretch this way. And I still don't know how far back it stretches this way. All I know is that we're on one of the peripheries of this fire pit. On top, we came down. We didn't really go way down. We just kind of touched it. And this just started all at once. And I can already see some flint in here. Okay, that's good news. The charcoal goes all the way back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask my videographer to move, get on top, and shoot down so you can see what I'm looking at now. So you can go ahead and turn it off and get situated. Okay, so up here, we've cleared it. I'm trying to figure out if this fire pit actually was huge or if we're looking at dual or triple fire pits. On this site, there are fire pits beside fire pits beside fire pits on top of fire pits, but I'm going to point to some stuff for you. I hope it comes out on the camera. Look at the tip of my trowel right there. Right there. Right there. Okay? Right here. Right here. Coming all the way down to here now. Looking for charcoal. Little bits of charcoal. Little bits of charcoal. Little bits of charcoal. And of course, it's getting more intense as we get closer to the foci or the center of this fire pit. So we're going to leave this alone right here. We're going to flip over to this site. And so I have a choice. Am I going to go down, or do I actually want to go laterally and see the extent of the fire pit that we're dealing with? Well, I already know this is loaded with artifacts. So I'm going to probably make the choice of going this direction, okay? So let's take a break. We're going to go look at what we've sifted so far and see what's come out of just cleaning this up, squaring up this area. And we'll see what we got, okay? So take a break. I'll go down there and get reset up, okay? The downside of no rain is the humidity that, that precedes it and follows. So we're in a cradle of humidity here today. I dumped the first bucket and we're pretty much set up. I have one little bag where just the little tiny debitage that's not really connected to much goes in this bag. Over here are the artifacts, pottery, things that need the closer look. So this is this way. Every site that you work on with every site coordinator will have a different plan. This is the one that we're using here. So with the dirt, what I'm going to do is just quickly let you see what I do and how we work through it. We're able to push down on the clumps of sand. Here's a fire-cracked rock that just popped out. Some of you were asking to maybe show the fire-cracked rocks a little bit better. This is sandstone that's just been blown to bits. This is just one piece of sandstone that blew up in a fire pit. What makes this fire pit unique is that there's also a lot of granite hardstone, which is what we want and what we hope for when we get a hearth. So let me work on this a little bit. Again, this is pretty much the top, the lid on top of the fire pits, and don't know what we're going to find. I listened to a teaching by a guy named Dr. Redmond from the Cleveland Museum of Natural History, and groundhog was in there. And oh boy, he was freshly in there. And he was talking about how when you get in these village sites, sometimes there's so many fire pits that as they walked around, they're kicking stuff, dragging their feet from fire, and it gets mixed. And he talked about the Keyhole site up along Lake Erie near the Black River, Cleveland. And that's what he was running into down here on this site. We've gone way past over 100 fire pits. And as I mentioned a few seconds ago, some of them are absolutely overlapping side by side. Some are on top of each other. And they're not all the same cultures. As a matter of fact, most of them are different cultures or different time periods. So the wash between the pits is incredible, and not really easy to nail down the culture, but you go with a consensus of what appears. Again, this is a salvage dig. It's not a run as a scientific dig, and we're able to have a little more latitude here than you would on a full-blown dig site. More sandstone that's been cooked, heated, and exploded. And these, okay, I see the little inclusion of quartz of sand right there at my thumbnail tip. This is a little sherd of pottery, a lot of charcoal with it. And this is pretty much the size that the pottery's been running. But remember, this is on top. This is preceding getting into the fire pit. So I'll put him over here. He will be washed and cleaned and looked at later. Getting back to what we have with our initial bucket. I'm quickly going through it. And here's a piece of charcoal. I would not be able to handle this stuff if we were going to do a carbon 14. Your stainless steel trowel would wrap it up in aluminum, and from there it would go to a lab. We're not after carbon 14s here. Okay, let's take a break. I'll go through several buckets, and then you can come back and see what we found so far. Okay, see you in a minute. Alrighty, we've just sifted all the material that was just loose. We squared up our walls. We got our horizontal squared. All that loose dirt we've sifted. And so we're just going to show you what we got before we even get into the fire pit. So let's come on over here. And what you'll see right away is that we got one decent size sherd right here. And a follow-up with cord marking right where my thumbnail is. This is grit tempered pottery. This is just a piece of granite that exploded in the fire when it fooled us. We thought it was something, but it's not. This is a chunky chunk. I just call these hunkies, chunkies out of a fire pit. I see a couple of flake scars right here. And I suppose, I'm guessing, I see flake scars. My thumb's going to touch both of them right here and right there. I think this is a broken core that was in the fire pit. Then just some big flakes that I'll have to examine and see if they were used as flake knives. This is typically the kind of flake knife that we find down here when we're field walking, as well as around the fire pits. This is more of those round stones that have been impacted by the charcoal, and I constantly have bola in the back of my head. This is something that every one of you has found east of the Ohio River. It's a lucky stone. It's little white quartz when it's in the creek, but when it's been near heat, it oxidizes into these really amazing pinks in this area. Midsection, we have the cone of percussion right here, right there, right there. A little bit of a flake removal off the cone, snapped at probably where it was hafted right here, snapped. The rest of it's gone. Maybe why it ended up in the fire pit. And then we have what I think probably is going to be a little blade, because I can see my cone of percussion right where my fingernail is, right there, running down the blade. This is a typical micro tool, and I'll have to look at my edges to make sure. Okay, so let's go this direction now. And this is the flakes, literally the debitage that was in that area around on top of the fire pits. I wanted to show you some of the FCRs that are coming out of there, and I'm doing it on purpose because a lot of you keep asking. We want to see FCRs. Well, here's the exterior or the cortex of this particular rock. Here's the internal structure of the rock. Now I'm going to hold them slow so you can see the natural curvature of the outer portion of the rock shattered in the fire pit. A little bit harder than the average sandstone. This is sandstone with no cortex. This thing has exploded. Then here we're getting on toward granite, a much harder rock, heavily affected by the charcoal. Just literally turned it black. Okay, so some examples of the FCRs coming out over here. some of the debitage that's coming out, and a few of the artifacts. So we're going to go over and do some serious digging now. We're going to get into the fire pit. We'll come back and see you in a minute. Oh boy, yay! All right, look what we have here. Come on in. And I think we're coming down on a piece of pottery right here, like a cross section. Don't know, but I'm trying to be careful. I don't want to mess him up. No, it'll be fun. And the thing that's really got us excitement is this. This just came out of the material that we were over there sifting. And do you remember what we called these? It's a rim. But look at the material. This is really different. This is the rim of a steatite bowl. Well, that's cool because we can knock these puppies right back to the Ashtabula culture, that time period. Okay, so this has me very excited for this. I don't know, but this is thin, much like I would suspect a Hopewell pot, but we'll see. What would be funny is if this is nothing, but you never know. And you have to just take your time, and a lot of TLC. It's right in here in the apex, the hot spot of the fire pit. Is this pottery or not? If I were a betting man, and I'm not, oh man, this goes clear up into here. See, this could actually be 2, 3, 4 inches down, and if you go wiggling, even wiggling can snap it. And you can justify it by saying, okay, we can glue this together. But you know what? It's all about taking your time. It's enjoying something that you love, and just be dazzled. Be a good caretaker, and see what you got. Now, of course, all this stuff will have to be sifted as well. I see another FCR popping up right here. I'm gonna get him out of the way. Right there. Sandstone FCR. Flint. You know what? I'm betting I can spray this. I know. Everybody around here says, no, don't spray it. But I can't help it. I can't wait till Christmas Day. I need to look now. See what we're dealing with here. Look at this. The size and the... Okay, here we go. Oh, this is pottery, my friends. Come on in, get us straight down and look at this. You can see the side that's been close to the heat in the charcoal right here. Side that has not. And you can even see the grit tempering in there. Can you see that, everybody? Come on in, take a peek. Right here. Little bits of grit in here. Okay, this is grit tempered pottery. Pretty thin, which on this site normally means Hopewell. And we've got bladelets over there. We've got a core over there. We got a Flint Ridge notch. We have a lot of stuff that supports the possibility of Hopewell. So we can keep on getting excited, and I'll keep on digging here. Oh, well, that came out real nice, didn't it? I'll get this out of our way right here. Yesterday, day before yesterday, I was down at Fort Ancient Memorial Park in Ohio. It's in the Xenia, Ohio area, which is just south of Columbus, southeast Ohio. which I'm recommending to all of you. Go visit that. It's a phenomenal prehistoric center. It's well done. It's got a walk-through museum, and we were actually making pottery. Pam, their curator, was helping all of us make pottery. And it was really fun to go through the steps and the processes, because it just, ooh, there, she's moving a little bit. Let's see what we got. Get that mud off there. Can you see the cord marks, everybody? Flip him. I'm gonna rinse the inside. Boy, it's been a while since we've gotten any shards this big. There we go. You saw it, fans, for the first time right here with Archaeology 101. The cool thing is this is just laced with cord marking, which is really cool. And I got to see her rendition of how they did it. They had paddles where they took twine and they wrapped the twine around it, and then they pushed it against it to get these patterns of cord marking. Really interesting. Beautiful, probably Hopewell. And this, no doubt, this is steatite, and we're talking Ashtabula. About 1000 BC on this one. And this could be probably anywhere from about 100 BC to 500 AD, somewhere in there. And then we got some handstone, we got some flint. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a break, go back to the sifter, and see what other goodies we have to show you, okay? Oh man, it's a real bite getting older. Okay, well here's the beautiful, thin, nicely cord marked piece of Hopewell pottery. And right there beside it, we dug out 2 more pieces, interestingly. Rimsherd, fanning out, grit tempered, not the same pot. This one's going to go to probably Adina. And this actually fits together with this. So we have a pot, and a pot. We had a pot of fun today. So we have not finished the dig site or that particular fire pit. We got halfway into it. We worked around the big shard of pottery, and that's it. The rain is coming in. We're going to close her up for the day. Thanks for coming along with me again. I appreciate it.